Listen carefully, because most men live their entire lives asleep, not in beds, but in their minds. They wake up tired, they speak without thinking, they react without control, they trust too easily, they fear too quickly. And because of this, they are harmless, not respected, not feared, not remembered. Harmless. The world does not reward the harmless. It ignores them, it steps over them, it forgets them. But deep inside you, there is something else, something older than fear, something stronger than doubt, something dangerous, a beast. Not a wild animal without control, but a disciplined predator, silent, patient, sharp, the kind of force kings feared and enemies respected. Centuries ago, in the stone halls of power, a man watched rulers rise and fall. His name was Niccolò Machiavelli. He studied kings, he observed traitors, he watched generals win wars and lose empires, not with swords alone, but with the mind. He understood something most men never learn. Power does not belong to the loud. Power belongs to the controlled. Not the strongest body, but the strongest discipline. Not the fastest hand, but the calmest mind. Machiavelli saw that men who ruled kingdoms were not always the biggest, but they were always the most dangerous. Dangerous in thought, dangerous in silence, dangerous in patience. And today, those same lessons still live, not in castles, not in war tents, but in offices, in streets, in homes, in your daily battles. Because the battlefield has changed, but human nature has not. Men still lie, still betray, still compete, still test weakness. And if you remain soft, you will be used. If you remain distracted, you will be defeated. If you remain uncontrolled, you will destroy yourself before anyone else does. That is why today, you will learn 5 ruthless lessons. Not reckless lessons, not violent lessons, but discipline lessons, strategic lessons. Listeners that awaken the beast within, not to destroy the world, but to master yourself. These lessons are not for the weak-minded, not for the lazy, not for those who seek comfort above strength. They are for those who are tired of being overlooked, tired of being underestimated, tired of feeling powerless in their own lives. By the end of this journey, you will not be louder, you will be calmer. You will not be reckless, you will be precise. And that is far more dangerous. Because the most feared man in the room is not the one shouting, it is the one watching, waiting, calculating, and striking only when the moment is right. So stand still, breathe slowly, focus your mind, because the first lesson does not begin with power, it begins with control. Number 1, control the monster before it controls you. A beast without discipline is not powerful. It is predictable. It roars when angry. It lunges when insulted. It reacts when provoked. And that is exactly why it is easy to defeat. Long ago in the shadowed chambers of rulers and war councils, Niccolò Machiavelli observed something that most men never notice. The greatest threat to power was never the enemy outside. It was the chaos inside. The angry king who shouted too quickly. The jealous general who acted too soon. The fearful ruler who panicked under pressure. These men did not lose because of weak armies. They lost because they lacked control. And today, nothing has changed. You may not sit on a throne. You may not command soldiers. But every day, you face battles. Someone insults you. Someone ignores you. Someone provokes you. Someone tests your patience. And in that moment, your reaction decides your future. Not your strength, not your talent, your reaction. Because the first rule of becoming dangerous is this: control yourself before you try to control anything else. The undisciplined man is easy to defeat. Imagine a wolf that attacks every time it sees movement. It runs without thinking. It lunges without strategy. Soon, it is exhausted. Soon, it is trapped. Soon, it is dead. But the wolf that waits survives. The wolf that watches wins. In the courts of power, Machiavelli noticed that rulers who reacted emotionally became predictable. Predictable men are easy to manipulate, easy to trap, easy to destroy. And in modern life, this truth is everywhere. Look at the man who explodes in anger during an argument. He thinks he looks strong, but he looks weak. Because anyone who can control his emotions can control him. Push his buttons, trigger his pride, watch him destroy himself. That is not power. That is slavery to emotion. Modern battlefield, your mind. Today, the battlefield is not a field of swords. It is your mind. And the enemy attacks differently, not with arrows, but with distractions, notifications, arguments, temptations, insults, pressure. You check your phone too often. You react too quickly. You speak before thinking. These are small losses. But small losses become big defeats. Every time you lose control, you weaken your authority. Not just in front of others, but inside yourself. And once a man loses authority over himself, he becomes his own enemy. Inside every man, there is fire, anger, ambition, pride, desire. These are not weaknesses, they are fuel. But uncontrolled fire burns the house. Controlled fire powers the engine. Machiavelli understood this deeply. He saw rulers filled with rage and rulers filled with restraint. The restrained ruler lasted longer, ruled stronger, and commanded greater fear. Because nothing frightens people more than calm strength. Not loud strength, calm strength. The man who stays silent while others shout feels dangerous. The man who remains calm under pressure feels unstoppable. Imagine a war tent at night. Rain falls outside, torches flicker, soldiers whisper in fear. A messenger runs in. "The enemy is close," he shouts. Panic spreads. Men grab weapons, voices rise. But the commander does not move. He sits still, quiet, watching, thinking. He studies the map. He breathes slowly. He speaks only once. And when he does, every man listens. Because control commands respect. Not noise, not chaos. Control. That commander survives the war, not because he was the strongest, but because he mastered his reactions. How to control the beast within. Power begins with small victories, not big ones. Start here. 1. Delay your reaction. When anger rises, wait. 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Do not speak immediately. Silence gives you power. Reaction gives your power away. 2. Slow your breathing. When emotions rise, your breath speeds up. Slow it down. Deep inhale, slow exhale. Control breath, control emotion. 3. Observe before acting. Before responding, watch. Study tone, study body language, study timing. Observation turns emotion into strategy. 4. Speak less than you feel. Feel anger, but do not express all of it. Hold some back. That restraint builds authority. 5. Train daily discipline. Wake at a set time. Control food habits. Limit distractions. Discipline in small things creates discipline in big moments. Why self-control makes you dangerous? A controlled man is unpredictable, not because he is chaotic, but because he is precise. Others expect you to react. They expect you to shout. They expect you to defend yourself emotionally. But when you remain calm, they become unsure. Uncertainty creates fear. Fear creates respect. Respect creates power. This is why the calmest man in the room often controls the room, without raising his voice, without showing aggression, just by mastering himself. The inner war never ends. Do not believe this is a one-time victory. Control is not achieved once. It is practiced daily. Every day, your emotions test you. Every day, your patience is challenged. Every day, your discipline weakens or strengthens. And each moment, you either feed the beast or chain it. The beast must not die. It must obey, because a disciplined beast is unstoppable. Remember this: the man who controls himself controls outcomes. Not always immediately, but always eventually, because time favors discipline and punishes chaos. But self-control alone is not enough, because even the calmest warrior can be destroyed by the wrong people. Not enemies in armor, but enemies in disguise. Smiling faces, friendly voices, hidden intentions. And that leads to the second ruthless lesson. Not everyone deserves your trust, and some of your greatest threats will come disguised as allies. Lesson 2 is where the true danger begins. Number 2, trust few, observe all. The art of seeing what others hide. The blade that kills a king is rarely held by a stranger. It is carried by someone he trusted, someone who smiled, someone who bowed, someone who waited. Long ago, in candlelit chambers where whispers decided the fate of kingdoms, Niccolò Machiavelli watched rulers fall not to armies, but to betrayal. Not from enemies across the field, but from allies seated at their own tables. He saw ministers who bowed with loyalty while sharpening knives behind velvet curtains. He saw friends who toasted victories while planning downfalls in secret. And from these observations, a ruthless truth emerged. Trust is power, but blind trust is suicide. If you trust everyone, you give your power away. If you trust no one, you become isolated and weak. But if you trust wisely, you become dangerous. Because the second rule of becoming powerful is not about strength, it is about awareness. Most men believe words. They believe promises. They believe smiles. They believe appearances. And that is why they are betrayed. Imagine a fox walking into a lion's court. The fox bows low, speaks sweetly, offers loyalty, but inside, the fox calculates, not loyalty, opportunity. Machiavelli observed this again and again, not because people were monsters, but because people follow interest. Not loyalty, interest. Not friendship, advantage. And when interests change, so does loyalty. This is not cruelty, it is human nature. Today, betrayal does not always come with swords. It comes with polite emails, fake compliments, empty promises, friendly conversations with hidden intentions. A coworker smiles, but competes against you. A friend supports you until your success threatens them. An acquaintance praises you, but spreads doubt behind your back. This is the battlefield of modern life. Quiet, subtle, invisible. And those who fail to observe become victims. Not because they were weak, but because they were unaware. In ancient strategy halls, wise men spoke of two creatures, the lion and the fox. The lion is strong, fearless, dominant, but the lion cannot see traps. The fox is clever, observant, patient, but the fox alone lacks strength. True power is becoming both, strong like the lion, observant like the fox. Machiavelli understood this balance. He saw rulers who relied only on strength fall into traps. He saw rulers who relied only on cunning lose respect. But the ruler who combined both ruled longest and feared most. Most men betray themselves before others betray them. They speak too quickly, reveal too much, share too freely. They expose their plans, their fears, their ambitions. And once exposed, they become predictable. Predictable men are easy to defeat. Imagine sitting in a room full of strangers. One man talks endlessly about his goals, his dreams, his struggles. He thinks he builds connection, but in truth, he reveals his weaknesses. While he speaks, others study, others calculate, others remember. Machiavelli saw this mistake in courts. The loud advisor rarely lasted long. The quiet observer survived, because silence hides strength and observation reveals danger. Imagine a grand stone hall. Torches flicker along the walls. Nobles gather around a long wooden table. Wine flows, voices laugh. But at the far end, one man speaks less than the others. He listens. He watches faces, not words. He notices who interrupts, who avoids eye contact, who smiles too often. Days pass, weeks pass. Then one night, a plot is uncovered, a betrayal exposed, and the quiet observer survives, while the careless talkers disappear. Because in courts, survival belonged to those who observed, not those who trusted blindly. How to observe without being noticed. Observation is not magic, it is practice, and it begins with discipline. 1. Speak less, listen more. When others talk, let them finish. Do not rush to fill silence. Silence invites truth. The more people speak, the more they reveal. 2. Watch actions, not words. Words lie. Actions expose truth. If someone promises loyalty but acts selfishly, believe the action, not the promise. 3. Study patterns. Observe behavior over time. One mistake can be forgiven, but repeated behavior reveals character. Patterns never lie. 4. Keep your plans private. Do not reveal your goals too early. Plans exposed too soon invite interference. Speak when results appear, not before. 5. Trust slowly, withdraw quickly. Trust is earned in drops, lost in buckets. Give trust gradually, remove it immediately when betrayed. Many people believe openness builds strength, but uncontrolled openness invites danger. Imagine a castle with open gates. Anyone can enter, friend or enemy. Without gates, there is no defense. Without boundaries, there is no power. You do not need to become cold. You do not need to become distant, but you must become selective. Not everyone deserves your trust. Not everyone deserves your time. Not everyone deserves your truth. And the moment you understand this, you become harder to manipulate, harder to deceive, harder to destroy. Why observers always win? Observation creates advantage. Advantage creates control. Control creates victory. When you observe carefully, you see things others miss. Small lies, hidden jealousy, unspoken fear. You recognize danger before it strikes. And once danger is seen, it can be avoided or defeated. Machiavelli believed that wise rulers survived not because they trusted easily, but because they verified constantly. They watched, measured, evaluated every word, every action, every alliance, and that vigilance protected their power. Imagine a workplace. 2 employees start on the same day. The first speaks loudly about ambition, shares plans openly, complains frequently, trusts easily. The second listens, observes, speaks only when necessary. Months pass, conflicts arise, secrets leak, alliances shift, and in the end, the silent observer rises. Not because of luck, but because of awareness, because he saw danger before danger saw him. Do not misunderstand this lesson. It does not command you to hate others. It commands you to understand them. Trust is not weakness. Blind trust is. Strategic trust is power. Trust those who prove loyalty through action. Trust those who remain consistent under pressure. Trust those who protect your interests, even when it costs them. But test trust slowly, because betrayal rarely announces itself. It waits, it studies, it strikes when you are comfortable. Remember this line: the careless man trusts words. The dangerous man studies behavior. Words are wind. Behavior is truth. Always remember that. A man who reveals everything is easy to understand. A man who keeps some mystery feels powerful, not secretive, not deceptive, strategic. When people cannot fully predict you, they respect you more, fear you more, study you more, because mystery creates uncertainty, and uncertainty creates caution. Observation is not only about others, it is about yourself. Observe your reactions. Observe your trust habits. Observe your emotional patterns. Ask yourself, who have I trusted too quickly? Who have I trusted without proof? Where did I ignore warning signs? Awareness begins within, because the man who cannot observe himself cannot observe others. But even the most observant man can still fall, not because he trusted the wrong people, but because he failed to master his emotions in critical moments. Because anger, fear, and pride can cloud even the sharpest mind. And that leads to the third ruthless lesson. Your emotions are not your enemies, but if you let them lead, they will march you straight into defeat. Lesson 3 will teach you how to rule your emotions before they rule your destiny. Number 3, master your emotions. The man who cannot control his feelings cannot control his fate. There is a moment, small, silent, almost invisible, where victory turns into defeat, not because of weakness, not because of lack of skill, but because of emotion. A burst of anger, a wave of fear, a stab of pride, and in that single moment, years of effort collapse. Long ago, in halls lined with stone and secrets, Niccolò Machiavelli watched powerful men destroy themselves without a single enemy raising a sword. They did it with their emotions. A king insulted, who responded with rage. A commander afraid, who made rushed decisions. A noble filled with pride, who refused wise advice. And each time, the downfall began not outside, but inside. Because the third rule of becoming dangerous is this: you must rule your emotions, or they will rule your destiny. Most people think emotion is weakness. That is not true. Emotion is power, raw power. Anger gives strength, fear gives alertness, pride gives confidence, desire gives motivation, but uncontrolled power destroys the one who holds it. Imagine a warrior holding a flaming torch. If he grips it correctly, it lights his path. If he grips it carelessly, it burns his hand. Emotion is the same. Machiavelli saw leaders who felt deeply, but acted carefully. They were not cold, they were disciplined. They felt anger, but chose patience. They felt fear, but chose preparation. They felt pride, but chose humility. And that discipline turned emotion into advantage. The most dangerous moment is when you feel justified. Pay attention to this truth, because it ruins more men than failure ever will. The most dangerous moment is when you feel right to act emotionally. When someone insults you, you feel justified to react. When someone disrespects you, you feel justified to explode. When someone challenges your pride, you feel justified to fight. But justification is a trap. It whispers, react now, defend yourself, show them your strength, and in doing so, you reveal your weakness. Because the moment emotion controls your action, you surrender your strategy, and strategy is where victory lives. Today, no one needs swords to defeat you. They only need your reaction. Social media insults, office conflicts, family arguments, competitive environments. These are emotional battlefields. Someone criticizes you publicly, someone mocks your ideas, someone questions your authority, and suddenly, your heart beats faster, your voice tightens, your thoughts blur. That is the trap, not the insult, the reaction. Because once you react emotionally, you become predictable, and predictable people are easy to manipulate. Imagine two generals facing the same threat. Both receive news. The enemy has crossed the river. The first general panics. He shouts orders, moves troops without planning, acts quickly, but blindly. His fear leads him. Chaos follows. The second general hears the same news. He pauses, breathes slowly, studies the map, asks questions, plans carefully. His fear exists, but does not control him. Days later, the first army falls into traps. The second army surrounds the enemy. Same danger, different reaction, different outcome. Machiavelli saw this difference repeatedly, not between strong and weak men, but between controlled and uncontrolled minds. Anger, the fastest path to regret. Anger feels powerful, hot, immediate, explosive, but anger is impatient, and impatience destroys precision. Think about the last time you spoke in anger. Did it solve the problem or create new ones? Did it build respect or weaken your authority? Most men regret words spoken in anger. Few regret silence, because silence gives you time, and time gives you control. Machiavelli observed that rulers who showed uncontrolled anger created fear, but also resentment, and resentment breeds rebellion. But rulers who showed measured calm created respect, and respect lasts longer than fear alone. Fear, the hidden master of weak decisions. Fear is not your enemy. Fear is information. It tells you something matters. Something requires attention. But when fear controls your actions, it shrinks your world. Fear causes hesitation, avoidance, missed opportunities. Imagine a hunter in the forest. He hears movement. Fear enters his mind. If fear controls him, he runs blindly. If fear informs him, he becomes alert, listens carefully, prepares wisely. Fear becomes an ally, not a master. That is how dangerous men use fear, not to retreat, but to prepare. Pride, the silent destroyer of power. Pride feels noble, strong, confident, self-assured, but pride blinds. It whispers, "You are always right. You do not need advice. You cannot fail." And that whisper leads to disaster. Machiavelli saw rulers who ignored warnings, ignored counsel, ignored reality, because pride convinced them of invincibility. And when reality struck, it struck hard, because pride delays learning, and delayed learning invites defeat. True strength accepts correction. True power adapts quickly. True danger remains humble enough to learn. How to master your emotions. Daily emotional control is not talent. It is training. Daily training. Start here. 1. Name the emotion. When emotion rises, identify it. Say in your mind, "I feel anger. I feel fear. I feel pride." Naming emotion weakens its control. It turns feeling into awareness. 2. Pause before response. Never respond immediately when emotions are high. Wait. Even 10 seconds changes outcomes. Silence protects strategy. 3. Lower your voice. When tension rises, speak softer, not louder. Soft speech forces calm thinking, and calm thinking creates authority. 4. Separate feeling from action. You are allowed to feel anything, but action must be chosen carefully. Feeling is natural, reaction is optional. 5. Reflect after conflict. After emotional moments, ask yourself, what triggered me? What could I improve? How can I react better next time? Reflection builds mastery. Have you ever noticed this? The calmest person in chaos feels powerful. When everyone panics, one calm voice changes everything. That voice commands attention, commands respect, commands leadership, because calmness signals control, and control signals strength. Machiavelli understood this deeply. He saw that emotional discipline created authority, not loud authority, silent authority, the kind that makes others listen, even before you speak. The inner battlefield never sleeps. Your emotions will never disappear. They are part of being human, But mastery means guiding them, not suppressing them, not denying them, guiding them. Like a rider guiding a powerful horse. Without reins, the horse runs wild. With control, it wins races. Your emotions are that horse. Train them, guide them, use them, never surrender to them. Remember this line: emotion gives you energy, discipline gives you direction. Without discipline, energy becomes destruction. With discipline, energy becomes power. There will be moments when silence becomes your greatest weapon, not weakness, weapon. When insulted, pause. When provoked, observe. When challenged, calculate. Your silence confuses opponents. Your calm unsettles them because they expect reaction. And when reaction does not come, they lose control while you keep yours. That is real dominance. Not shouting, not striking, controlling the moment. Imagine a tense meeting. Voices rise, blame spreads, tempers flare. One leader stays quiet, listening, breathing slowly. Then he speaks, short sentences, clear instructions, calm tone. The room settles, chaos fades, authority emerges, not from volume, but from control. That is emotional mastery in action, and it works everywhere. In families, in careers, in competition. You have learned to control your reactions. You have learned to observe others. You have learned to master your emotions. But control alone is not victory. Observation alone is not dominance. There comes a moment when action becomes necessary, a moment when waiting too long becomes weakness, and acting too soon becomes disaster. The true strategist knows one thing above all: timing decides victory. And that leads to the fourth ruthless lesson. Strike only when victory is certain, because reckless action destroys what patience could have won. Number 4, strike only when victory is certain. The power of deadly timing. The fool attacks first, the strategist attacks last. Many men believe action is strength. They rush forward, they speak too soon, they move too fast. They think speed makes them powerful. But speed without timing is suicide. In the great halls of power, where every whisper could change the fate of kingdoms, Niccolò Machiavelli watched rulers who destroyed themselves not because they were weak, but because they acted too soon, too early, too loudly, too recklessly. They mistook motion for strategy, and motion without calculation creates chaos. Because the fourth rule of becoming dangerous is this: do not strike when you feel ready. Strike when victory is ready. There is a difference, a deadly difference. Imagine a battlefield at dawn. Mist covers the ground. Soldiers grip their weapons. Silence hangs heavy in the air. Two warriors stand at the front. The first cannot wait. His heart pounds. His pride burns. He charges forward before the signal. Alone, fast, loud, and within moments, he is surrounded, overpowered, destroyed. Not because he lacked courage, but because he lacked patience. Now imagine the second warrior, still, quiet, observing. He watches the terrain, studies the enemy movement, waits for the signal, and when the moment arrives, he moves with precision. Not wasted effort, not wasted energy, only calculated action. That warrior survives. That warrior wins. Machiavelli saw this truth unfold in wars, alliances, and politics. Victory belonged not to the fastest, but to the most patient. Today, impatience wears new masks. It looks like ambition. It sounds like confidence. It feels like urgency. But beneath it, there is fear. Fear of missing out, fear of losing advantage, fear of being overlooked. So people act quickly, send the message too soon, quit the job too early, confront the wrong person at the wrong time, reveal plans before they are ready, and later, they regret. Not because action was wrong, but because timing was wrong. Timing transforms action into victory. Poor timing transforms action into failure. The hidden strength of waiting. Waiting feels weak, but it is not. Waiting is preparation. Waiting is strategy. Waiting is power. A hunter does not fire the arrow at the first movement. He studies the wind, measures the distance, calculates the moment, then releases. One arrow, one strike, one result. Machiavelli admired leaders who understood patience. They did not move simply to appear strong. They moved only when movement guaranteed advantage, because unnecessary action weakens position, but precise action strengthens authority. The trap of emotional timing. Emotion pushes you to act too soon. Anger says, strike now. Pride says, show your strength. Fear says, move before it's too late. But emotion rarely understands timing. Strategy understands timing. That is why emotional decisions often fail. Imagine receiving criticism. Anger rises. You respond immediately, sharp words, harsh tone, and the situation escalates. But if you waited, analyzed, responded later, you might control the outcome instead of losing control. Timing protects authority, emotion destroys it. Picture a royal court filled with tension. Whispers move like shadows. Advisors argue. Enemies plot quietly. One minister urges the king, attack now, crush them before they grow stronger. Another whispers, wait, watch, let them reveal themselves. The impatient ruler attacks, quickly, loudly, without full knowledge, and he fails. But the patient king waits, observes, allows enemies to grow careless, allows mistakes to surface. And when he finally strikes, victory is swift, clean, final, because timing decided the outcome, not force. Machiavelli saw this pattern often. Those who mastered patience ruled longer. Those who rushed destroyed themselves. Timing is not luck, it is observation. And certain signs reveal the right moment. Sign 1, clarity. You understand the situation fully, not guesses, not assumptions, facts, details, risks, opportunities. Clarity removes hesitation. Sign 2, preparation. You are ready, skills trained, plans made, alternatives prepared. Prepared men do not fear action, they welcome it. Sign 3, advantage. Conditions favor you, not equally balanced, favorably balanced. You have leverage, support, position. When clarity, preparation, and advantage align, strike, without hesitation, without doubt. How to develop deadly timing. Timing is learned, not inherited. Train yourself using these methods. 1. Study before acting. Gather information, ask questions, research situations. Never move blindly. Information sharpens timing. 2. Control impulses. When you feel urgency, pause. Urgency often hides poor timing. Patience reveals better opportunities. 3. Build quiet preparation. Work in silence. Improve skills privately. Strength built quietly surprises opponents loudly. 4. Watch others fail. Observe impatient people. Notice their mistakes. Learn from their timing failures. Avoid repeating them. 5. Choose battles wisely. Not every fight deserves your energy. Not every conflict deserves response. Strategic absence is sometimes the strongest move. The danger of acting too late. But patience has limits. Waiting forever becomes weakness. There comes a moment when hesitation becomes loss. Opportunities fade, positions weaken, enemies strengthen. Machiavelli understood balance, not reckless speed, not endless delay, measured action, Perfect timing lives between extremes. Too early is failure. Too late is failure. Right timing is victory. Why precision feels like power. Watch a master craftsman. He does not rush. He does not waste motion. Each movement matters. Each action has purpose. This precision creates excellence. The same principle applies to life. Precise action builds respect. Reckless action builds regret. People trust those who move with purpose, not those who move randomly, because purposeful movement signals intelligence, and intelligence signals danger. Imagine two entrepreneurs. Both see an opportunity. The first rushes, launches quickly, without preparation, without research. Failure follows. The second studies, learns market patterns, builds resources, waits patiently, then launches. Success follows, not luck, timing. Machiavelli would recognize this instantly, because the battlefield changes, but timing never loses power. When you delay action wisely, others grow careless. They assume weakness. They underestimate you. And underestimation is a gift, because when people underestimate you, they lower their defenses, and that creates opportunity. Surprise becomes possible. Victory becomes easier, because expectation shapes behavior, and broken expectations create shock. Shock creates advantage. Remember this line: speed impresses the crowd, timing defeats the enemy. Anyone can act quickly, few can act correctly. Be among the few. Always remain ready, not anxious, ready. Prepared tools, prepared mind, prepared plans. Readiness allows immediate action when timing arrives. Without readiness, opportunity passes unnoticed. Prepared men recognize moments. Unprepared men miss them, and missed moments never return. Confidence is not loud. Confidence is patient. It waits without fear, acts without hesitation, speaks without anxiety. This confidence grows from preparation, and preparation creates calm. That calm makes you appear dangerous, not aggressive, not reckless, dangerous, because others sense control, and controlled men are unpredictable. You now control your reactions. You observe carefully. You master your emotions. You act with precision timing. But there is one final transformation left, one final evolution. Because true danger is not loud. It does not shout. It does not threaten. It does not announce itself. True danger is silent, invisible, felt before it is seen. And that leads to the fifth and final ruthless lesson. Become feared without speaking. Because the most powerful man in the room is the one who does not need to prove his strength. Number 5. Become feared without speaking. The power of silent presence. True power does not announce itself. Noise is the language of the weak. Shouting, boasting, threatening. These are not signs of power. They are signs of insecurity. In the silent corridors of ancient courts, where a single glance could change the fate of kingdoms, Niccolò Machiavelli noticed something few men understood. The most feared man in the room was rarely the loudest. He was the quietest, not silent because he was afraid, silent because he did not need to prove anything. His presence alone commanded attention. His posture alone created caution. His silence alone made others uneasy. Because the fifth and final rule of becoming dangerous is this: become a man whose presence speaks before his words ever do. Look carefully at the world around you. The loudest man often says, "Respect me, listen to me, fear me." But the truly powerful man never asks. He never begs for recognition. He never needs to announce strength, because his actions have already spoken. Imagine a crowded room. Voices echo, arguments rise, energy feels chaotic. Then one man enters. He says nothing, but people notice. Conversations slow, eyes shift, attention moves. Why? Not because he shouted, but because his presence carried weight. Machiavelli saw this in rulers who lasted. Their strength was not theatrical. It was controlled, measured, silent. And silence creates mystery. Mystery creates caution. Caution creates respect. Reputation is silent power. It travels faster than words. It enters rooms before you do. It speaks about you, even when you are not there. Machiavelli understood reputation as a shield and a sword. A ruler known for discipline was rarely challenged. A leader known for calm strength was rarely disrespected. Because reputation shapes expectation, and expectation shapes behavior. If people expect weakness, they test you. If people expect strength, they hesitate. That hesitation gives you advantage. But reputation is not built through talking. It is built through consistency, through action, through discipline repeated daily. Watch a wolf in the wild. It does not announce itself. It does not roar unnecessarily. It watches, moves quietly, acts only when necessary. That silence creates fear, not because of noise, but because of unpredictability. Humans feel the same reaction. Noise signals emotion. Silence signals control. Control signals danger. That is why calm men feel intimidating, even when they do nothing. Because stillness suggests readiness. Readiness suggests capability. Capability creates fear. Today, power is often misunderstood. People think dominance means loud speech, constant attention, endless talking. But in modern life, silent presence wins. In meetings, the calm voice carries authority. In negotiations, the quiet thinker controls direction. In conflict, the composed person dominates the outcome, not by force, by presence. Imagine two individuals facing the same situation. One shouts, interrupts, demands attention. The other listens, waits, speaks only when necessary. Which one feels stronger? The second, always the second, because silence builds tension, and tension builds authority. Your body speaks, even when your mouth does not. Posture, eye contact, movement, these are silent messages. Machiavelli observed rulers who mastered physical presence. They stood tall, moved slowly, looked directly into eyes, never rushed, never fidgeted. Their stillness alone made others cautious. Because uncontrolled movement signals nervousness. Controlled movement signals confidence. Confidence signals strength. Strength signals danger. How to build silent authority. Silent power is trained, not inherited. Practice these daily. 1. Slow your movements. Do not rush unnecessarily. Walk calmly, sit deliberately, move with purpose. Slow movement signals control. 2. Maintain eye contact. Not aggressive, not weak, steady, balanced. Eyes reveal confidence before words do. 3. Speak only when necessary. Silence increases the value of your words. When you speak less, people listen more. 4. Keep your emotions hidden. Do not reveal frustration easily. Do not display panic. Calm faces create trust and fear simultaneously. 5. Let results speak. Do not brag. Do not announce achievements. Allow outcomes to reveal strength. Results silence doubt. Stillness is misunderstood. People think stillness means weakness, but stillness requires control. Control requires discipline. Discipline creates power. Imagine standing in chaos. People shout, voices rise, energy breaks apart, and you remain calm, still, unmoved. That stillness becomes contagious. Others begin to settle, not because you forced them, but because your calm became the anchor. This is leadership, silent leadership, powerful leadership. People fear what they cannot predict, not what they fully understand. Mystery creates caution. When you speak less, reveal less, react less, people cannot predict you easily. That unpredictability creates distance. That distance creates respect, because people respect what they cannot easily read. Machiavelli saw that rulers who revealed everything lost advantage, but rulers who maintained mystery held power longer. Not deception, strategic privacy. Imagine a throne room. Golden light reflects from tall windows. Advisors gather. Voices rise in argument. Each advisor fights to be heard. But the ruler sits silently, watching, listening, hands still, eyes calm. Minutes pass. Silence spreads. Finally, he speaks. One sentence, short, clear, decisive, and the room obeys. Not because of volume, but because of control. Because every word carried weight. That is silent authority, and that authority lasts longer than fear alone. Imagine a tense workplace. Deadlines close in, stress rises, voices grow louder. One person remains steady, calm tone, measured speech, focused mind. Others turn to him, not because he demanded leadership, but because his presence created stability. This happens everywhere, in homes, in careers, in competition. Silent strength attracts responsibility. Responsibility builds influence. Influence builds power. To become feared without speaking, you must become unshakable. Not emotionless, not distant, unshakable. Insults do not move you. Pressure does not break you. Fear does not control you. Because your discipline runs deeper than your emotions. Your identity rests on control. Your confidence rests on preparation. Your presence rests on consistency. That consistency becomes reputation, and reputation becomes power. Remember this line: noise demands attention, silence commands it. Anyone can be loud. Few can be calm under pressure. Become one of the few. You have now walked through 5 ruthless lessons. Not lessons of violence, but lessons of discipline, lessons of strategy, lessons of survival. You learn to control the monster within. You learn to trust wisely and observe carefully. You learn to master your emotions. You learn to strike only when timing is perfect. And now, you have learned to command fear without speaking. This is not about dominating others. It is about mastering yourself. Because the most powerful battlefield is inside your mind. And the most dangerous man is not the one with weapons. It is the one with control. The one who wakes early, thinks clearly, acts precisely, speaks carefully. The one who does not react, but decides. Day by day, moment by moment, choice by choice, you shape your power. Not in grand gestures, but in small, disciplined actions. Every controlled breath strengthens you. Every measured response sharpens you. Every patient decision prepares you. Until one day, you realize something has changed. You no longer panic. You no longer react blindly. You no longer chase approval. You move differently, think differently, stand differently, and others notice. Not because you demanded attention, but because your presence feels different, heavier, calmer, dangerous. Not reckless danger, disciplined danger, the kind that protects, builds, commands, the kind that survives storms while others collapse. Listen carefully to these final words, because this is where the transformation becomes real. The world does not fear noise, it fears control. It fears discipline. It fears the man who does not panic under pressure, who does not beg for respect, who does not waste his strength on chaos. The world respects the man who controls his mind, who guards his trust, who masters his emotions, who waits for the perfect moment, who walks into a room and changes its energy without speaking. Awaken the beast within you, not the wild beast, but the disciplined one, the thinking predator, the silent strategist, the calm warrior, because in the end, power is not given, respect is not begged, fear is not forced. They are earned by the man who has mastered himself. Before you leave, make a choice, not a small choice, a decisive one. If these lessons awaken something inside you, if you felt your mind sharpen, if you felt the beast within you begin to rise, then do not walk away silently. Join this path, subscribe to this channel, not for entertainment, but for transformation. Because here, we do not create noise, we create discipline. We create thinkers, strategists, men who master themselves before they attempt to master the world. Press subscribe now, not later, because delay is the habit of the weak, and action is the language of the strong. And if you are serious about becoming dangerous, then prove it. Like this video so more disciplined minds can find this message. Comment below, I control the beast. Write it not for me, but for yourself. Let it be your oath, a mark that today you chose control over chaos, discipline over distraction, power over weakness. And remember this, the world does not change for the loudest voices. It changes for the most disciplined minds. Subscribe, return, train your mind, because this is not the end of your journey. This is the beginning of your transformation.